All right, good afternoon, sir and friends. We from Group 5 will present the result of our discussion education of the post-pandemic era. Before we start the discussion, we will introduce myself. My name is Clara Anggreni, and my friends are Pricylia Maharani Pambudi, Restu Dermawan, Nida Fathiaturrizkiyah, Shintia Eka Rahmawati, and Faradila Sarahwati. Post-pandemic era material will be explained by me. Disinfecting public space like classroom is no longer an option in a post-pandemic world. The COVID-19 has killed more than 3 million people globally and in fact more than 142 million people. The pandemic's economic harm has been compared to the aftermath of World War II. More than 1.6 billion kids around the world have had their education disturbed by this global health emergency. Learning conditions during the pandemic must be able to be analyzed by changing pattern of thinking, learning pattern of scientific interaction that are more meaningful so that pedagogy in responding to the COVID-19 period can be maximized with productivity that characterize learning phase. Phobia feelings are minimized by being optimistic that all activities will continue with the new normal health protocol, especially in the education sector segment, but in preschool education to higher education, each individual must be responsive to the limitations during the pandemic to remain productive in his field and interpret this pandemic condition as part of a change that must still prioritize responsive attitude and behavior in the new order to create varied learning space. In the end, the study confirmed that every change in the learning system can design new condition has a discussion with previous and future condition, so each related element must be able to adapt to this change to realize comprehensive learning success. In the context of online learning, of course, appreciation must be given to all parties involved, from teachers, school, students, and even parents who enthusiastically support their children. Online kinder learning is developed and created to of educational goals. Of course, online learning is always flexible and dynamic, moving toward information disclosure. Next slide, educational challenge will be explained by Pricylia.
Okay, thank you, moderator, for the opportunity. So, my name is Pricylia Pambudi, and I would like to explain about educational challenges of the post-pandemic era. The significant educational challenges created by the COVID-19 pandemic are a neglect of holistic education, disrupted learning, especially for underprivileged students, learners' lack of interpersonal interaction, learners' learning habits, and also financial readiness. The first one is a neglect of holistic education, a comprehensive education that tries to address all phases of a learner development has also been endangered by school clashes and also social exclusion. Attending to the physical, mental, emotional, social, and also spiritual aspects of life events is part of educating the full person. For the same reason, students' social and emotional wellness is jeopardized when they are cut off from their teachers, school counselors, peers, and the rest of the school community. School function not only as a site for academic learning, but also as a social network, online meetings, and etc. Next is disrupted learning, especially for underprivileged students. Many students around the world have seen their learning time reduced or even eliminated as a result of the pandemic. Many students complained that the material received was not well received. Some students also feel anxious because some practical subjects couldn't be implemented online, so the knowledge again was still lacking. Children from low socioeconomic home backgrounds have been particularly hard hit by the pandemic. Policymakers and educators should be concerned about this because learning time is a significant determinant of learning opportunities. Next is learners' lack of interpersonal interaction. These online facilities make some learners feel they don't really need interaction with the real world because they have made friends in the virtual world. When school starts a face-to-face interaction, it will force learners to leave the virtual world and deal with people in the real world, such as friends, teachers, and etc. Next, learners' learning habit. As well as adapting socially in the real world, learners also need to adapt in their daily life patterns. Most learners during the pandemic have waking hours later than before, which forces learners to wake up early because they have to go to school. Along with the curriculum adapted to the times and various characteristics, students also need to adapt to a new learning styles. During the pandemic, the learning style used tend to use online visual and auditory learning styles with strict supervision from the teacher and instructor. This will be different if given a stricter supervision through face-to-face learning, where the teacher will directly provide teaching and supervision in the classroom. And the last is financial readiness. Previously, parents set aside their wallet for the purposes of the electronic media and facilities as a tool for their learners' learning process. Now, some other equipment is also starting to be considered. Face-to-face learning will go in hand with increased ambassadors for schooling for learners, such as school uniforms that are starting to get too small to wear, shoes that no longer fit, notebooks for taking notes, stationery, and other various supporting equipment. That's all from me. I give it back to moderator. Thank you.
All right, slide solution will be explained by Restu and Cynthia.
Thank you, moderator. I will read the solution. Solution number 1 is face-to-face learning. Face-to-face learning is conducted in school. It current elimination stuff as the number of students, teacher, and also the rates of time they study in school. And number 2, developing a new curriculum. The government has acted to overcome disrupted learning by compiling a prototype curriculum, which is excited to reduce the effects to learning lost during the pandemic. And number 3, improving learns social skill, fundamental social skill, and need to be taught to learn, such as the rules of honesty in interaction with other people. And the next, read Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, Restu. The next is adapting the learner's learning habits. Learners must begin to use to getting up early again and ready to take the part in learning at school. Another habit that needs to be adapted is preparation for school preparation, such as preparing textbook to be brought to school, taking a shower, having a breakfast, and so on. Learners also need to be trained independent study hours outside of face-to-face lesson at school. These hours also need to pay attention to the learner's physical condition. Whether it's possible for learners to study hours directly after coming home from school or give learners time to rest first. And the last one is improving economic stability. Parents must provide economic stability in order to provide the best learning facilities for learners, investing face-to-face learning. In addition to primary needs in supporting the face-to-face learning process, of course, parents also have to set aside a little money to give to their learners as pocket money. That's it from me. Next, I give it to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, slide. The role of the post-pandemic era will be explained by Nida.
Okay, thank you for the time. Now I'm gonna explain about the roles of the post-pandemic teacher. But before that, what does it look like to be a teacher in this model? There are three roles that such a teacher embodies. So for the first roles of the teacher is the advisor. Advisors take the lead in building relationship with students, which research tells us is foundational for student learning and well-being. Advisors intentionally create a culture of social and emotional learning where every student feels a sense of belonging. Relationship building naturally starts the advisor role within the student support pillar. This work is immersed in the practices of learning by doing, including circle conversation, hands-on activities, and one-on-one meetings between advisors and students to discuss both academic and personal interests. And the second is the designer. Every teacher is a designer of project-based learning centered within the needs and interests of each student. For many teachers, the role of designers is their comfort zone, creating lessons, activities, and assignments. Students were asked to design their own solutions, incorporating what they had learned about things like soil composition, ecosystem dynamics, and irrigation system. Project-based learning is part of a new generation of classes that transforms traditional teacher-led instruction into a more student-centered, project-based approach requiring students to work together as they tackle complex, real-world problems that emphasize uncertainty, and so on. And the last is the connector. Every teacher is a connector, acting as a bridge between students and opportunities. This happens through community partnerships and within every project class, as well as surface learning projects and work-based learning. Every time a teacher connects as a student to an internship, mentor, or dual credit program, that student takes one more step toward achieving their aspiration. In particular, these opportunities help our students develop their social capital, a critical asset based on building relationships through social network. So that's all from me. I give it back to the moderator.
Okay, and the last slide of government policy will be explained by Faradila.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Next slide, please. Okay, so here I will explain about what policies have been made by the government after the COVID-19 pandemics regarding the education system in Indonesia. Government policy. The development of the current COVID-19 case as it improves this affects the policy of the learning system. In July 2021, Minister of Education and Culture Nadiem Makarim emphasized that all schools must have open face-to-face learning. Face-to-face education must follow the guidelines for organizing public engagement learning during the COVID-19 pandemic issued by the Ministry of Education and Culture and the Ministry of Religion. These guidelines include health protocols that need to be carried out before and after learning takes place, such as disinfecting infrastructure and the environment of the education unit. Regarding the problems experienced by students during the COVID-19 pandemics, which has an impact on the next learning process. Will they be left alone? From this, we need a strategy in the post-pandemic era that can handle student anxiety. In addition to implementing an appropriate health protocol system, a learning mechanism is also needed to achieve student understanding due to a lack of understanding during online learning. In addition, a transition system from online lectures to face-to-face lectures is also needed. This is done to adapt students who are still dependent on online learning. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Well, that's the result of our discussion with the education of the post-pandemic era material. We're sorry if we made a mistake. Thank you.